Audio summary: The Adventures of Pinocchio.
Okay, so are you ready to dive deep into a story that we all know and love? But I think there's so much more to Pinocchio than what we see on the surface, you know?
Yeah.
So today we're going deep, and I mean deep, into Carlo Collodi's original Italian text of Pinocchio.
Uh-huh.
And we're not just gonna rehash the plot. We're gonna look for those hidden meanings and what's behind those talking crickets and the growing noses.
Yeah, I think what's so fascinating about going back to the source material is you discover all these little details, things that you kind of skimmed over as a kid or you never even noticed, and these layers of meaning that come out that can really deepen our understanding of even something as familiar as, Pinocchio.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, speaking of hidden layers, let's start with Geppetto's workshop, where it all begins, right? So Collodi describes it as, a pretty bare room, but then there's this interesting detail about a painted fireplace, a fireplace painted on the wall with a painted pot that seems to be boiling over.
Right.
What's that all about?
Yeah, I think that detail is really important, It's not just set dressing. I think it gives us a little window into Geppetto's longing for warmth and comfort, maybe even hinting at a deeper loneliness that he feels even before Pinocchio is even, carved.
Interesting. It's he's trying to create an illusion of a cozy life that he doesn't really have right.
Exactly, yeah.
And the irony is he chooses to carve a wooden boy.
Right.
And names him Pinocchio, believing it will bring good fortune. Collodi even mentions that Geppetto knew a family of Pinocchios who were always happy despite being poor. It makes you wonder, is Geppetto chasing a kind of contentment that he sees in, this poor family?
It's a really interesting juxtaposition, this desire for warmth and contentment, but then alongside this, creation of a puppet.
Right.
And then you have this other detail right away about Pinocchio's eyes. So the moment they're carved, they start moving and they're staring intensely. It's almost like there's this spark of mischief there, this independence even before he's even really alive.
Ooh, foreshadowing. Almost like a warning, right?
Totally, yeah.
Of the chaos that's to come. And then, of course, Pinocchio, as soon as he's kind of born, he tries to escape.
Yeah.
And he almost makes it, too, if it wasn't for that ridiculously long nose. Collodi even describes it as made for getting caught.
Yeah.
You have to laugh. I mean, it's his impulsiveness is literally built into him.
Yeah, and what's another interesting detail is that Geppetto forgot to carve ears in his rush to finish Pinocchio.
Ah.
So do you think that plays into his inability to listen and learn?
Oh, wow. That's a good point.
Because he has that first encounter with the talking cricket where he's basically ignoring all of this advice.
Yeah, the talking cricket's trying to warn him about the dangers of a carefree vagabond life, and Pinocchio's mind your own business, cricket.
Yeah, and it's funny how the cricket responds. He's like, poor Pinocchio, you have a wooden head. It's his wooden head is both the cause of all these bad decisions, but also we should have pity on him because he's got this wooden head.
Wow, yeah. So Pinocchio ignores the good advice, runs away, and he ends up wandering through this deserted village. And Collodi really emphasizes this emptiness. No shops, no people, not even a dog. It really paints this picture of his isolation, doesn't it?
Yeah, he's totally alone and just driven by these basic needs like hunger. But even then, when he finds an egg and tries to cook it, he messes that up. He ends up cracking it into cold water instead of oil, which is another example of his, naivete.
Yeah. It's almost painful to watch, right? Because he's got the good intention. He wants to feed himself.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have the experience, the knowledge to do it properly.
Exactly, yeah.
And meanwhile, you have Geppetto who's frantically searching for him.
Right.
And finds Pinocchio back at the workshop with burnt feet.
Yeah, poor Pinocchio.
Poor Pinocchio. And Pinocchio, of course, lies about it.
Right.
Saying a cat ate them. Yet, despite the scolding, Geppetto makes him new feet and gives him clothes, made from scraps. A flowered paper suit, shoes made of bark, and a breadcrumb cap. It shows his love for Pinocchio right, despite his flaws.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And it's at this point that Pinocchio, he has this brief moment of genuine good intention. He's got new feet, new clothes, and he thinks, I'm going to go to school, I'm going to earn money, and buy Geppetto a fine coat. Right. A silver and gold coat.
Right.
But of course, this is Pinocchio. Good intentions only last for so long because he gets distracted by a puppet show.
Of course.
Aw.
That's such a crucial moment, right? Because it shows that constant kind of battle that he's facing throughout the whole story. Like, he loves Geppetto and wants to be good, but then instant gratification is just way too tempting.
Every time. And he's so desperate to see the show that he tries to sell everything. His paper jacket, the bark shoes, even the breadcrumb cap. It's kind of heartbreaking to picture this, right? This puppet literally made of scraps, just trying to scrape together a few coins.
Yeah, and he even sells his ABC book.
No.
The very thing he needs for school, sold so he can go to the puppet show.
Oh, Pinocchio. So this is how he meets Mangiafuoco, the puppet master with a black beard so big it covers his chest.
Right. What a description.
Oh my gosh, I know. So Mangiafuoco is pretty scary looking, no doubt about it.
Uh-huh.
But when he's faced with actually burning Pinocchio, what does he do?
What?
He sneezes uncontrollably.
So funny.
It's this odd detail, but it humanizes him, doesn't it? It shows like vulnerability under that gruff exterior.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And then you also see his compassion when Pinocchio begs him to spare Harlequin.
Right. Another puppet. So he's willing to sacrifice himself to save Harlequin. It's like he's not just thinking about his own desires anymore.
Right.
It's a turning point, maybe.
Maybe. And then Mangiafuoco, like moved by Pinocchio's plea, gives him 5 gold coins to take to Geppetto.
Oh.
So you'd think at this point he'd learned his lesson.
Yeah, right. He'd go home a hero. But of course not. On his way home, he bumps into the infamous Fox and the Cat.
Oh, no.
And, well, let's just say they have other plans for Pinocchio and his coins.
Right. Oh, the Fox and the Cat, classic duo. Right. You got to admire their skill, though. I mean, they see Pinocchio coming from a mile away. They know exactly how to, like, exploit his naivete and that desire for easy riches. I bet you've met a few smooth talkers like them, haven't you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I know I have.
And their scheme, it's so classic.
Oh, yeah.
They spin this tale about the Field of Miracles,
Right.
a magical place where you bury coins and they sprout into money trees. Like, come on.
It's like the ultimate get-rich-quick fantasy,
I know.
playing on those desires, the impatience, the greed.
Oh, for sure. And they're so good at manipulating him, too. They, like, slowly escalate the numbers, you know, to really hook him. They start with his 5 coins, and before you know it, they're telling him he could have 2,500 overnight.
Oh, yeah, who wouldn't be tempted by that?
I know, right? It's brilliant. But also very devious.
It is, yeah.
So Pinocchio's completely sucked in, and he sets off with them to find the supposed Field of Miracles. They stop at this inn, the Red Shrimp Inn, for a meal, and this is where Collodi really goes all out with the satire.
Okay, yeah.
The cat orders this insane amount of food, 35 mullets, 4 servings of tripe, then demands extra butter, cheese. It's just ridiculously over the top.
Like a caricature of excess.
Oh, totally.
The letany.
And then the fox, pretending to be on a diet, eats just as much, if not more, than the cat.
Oh, of course.
The hypocrisy is just dripping.
Yeah, it really is.
So they request this pre-dawn wake-up call so they can, you know, continue on their journey.
Right.
And when Pinocchio wakes up, guess what?
They're gone.
They're gone. He's stuck with the bill.
And the innkeeper even, like, winks at them as they're leaving.
Oh, no.
It's like everybody's in on the con, you know?
Yeah. Poor Pinocchio. He's abandoned, bewildered, sets off again, and get this. He runs into the ghost of the talking cricket.
What?
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
I know. It's like his conscience. Even in death, it just can't bear to see him go down this path.
Yeah, totally.
The cricket urges him to go home with his remaining coins, but Pinocchio's like, nope, I'm not doing that. Stubborn as ever.
Well, Pinocchio.
And of course, his troubles escalate. He's attacked by assassins who demand his money.
Oh my God.
Right. I mean, Collodi really knows how to blend humor and suspense because Pinocchio tries to lie and says, I have no money.
Uh-huh.
But of course, the coins are jingling in his mouth.
Oops, busted.
Exactly. So it's a moment of pure slapstick comedy, but it also highlights his dishonesty.
Yeah, it does.
He manages to escape, though, climbs up a pine tree. The assassins set the tree on fire. He jumps over a ditch, gets away, and he finds himself at this house. Knocks on the door, and this beautiful girl with blue hair appears at the window.
Okay.
But she's pale, she looks kind of ghost-like, and she tells Pinocchio that everyone in the house is dead, including herself.
That's creepy. Who is this girl?
I know, right?
Is she even real? Or is this like a figment of his imagination? Because he's exhausted and everything.
Right. Collodi leaves it kind of deliberately ambiguous.
Okay.
But then there's a twist. It turns out the blue-haired girl is a fairy, and she sends her poodle coachman, Medoro, to rescue Pinocchio.
A poodle coachman?
Yes, and her carriage is air-colored. It's stuffed with canary feathers.
Wow.
Lined with cream and ladyfingers.
That's fancy.
I know. And it's pulled by 100 pairs of white mice. It's like stepping into a dream.
It is, yeah.
It's this magical moment. It feels like Pinocchio is being offered this second chance to escape the consequences of all these bad decisions.
Yeah.
But the fairy isn't going to let him off easy this time. She calls in a raven, an owl, and the talking cricket.
A whole council.
I know, right? To examine him.
To, like, assess the damage.
Exactly. And it's pretty funny because they're debating whether Pinocchio's even alive.
Uh-huh.
And the talking cricket, of course, recognizes him right away.
Of course he does.
And he's like, "Watch out, fairy, this kid is a rascal."
Yeah, he knows him too well.
He does. So the fairy, determined to teach Pinocchio a lesson, she gives him medicine for donkey fever.
Donkey fever.
Donkey fever. It's an illness that affects lazy boys who refuse to study.
Interesting.
Of course, Pinocchio hates the medicine, tries to avoid it, but he eventually breaks down, confesses everything, the coins, the field of miracles, the assassins, and as he lies, guess what happens?
What?
His nose grows longer and longer.
Of course.
He's trapped in the room.
Wow.
It's like this visual metaphor for the burden of deceit, right?
Yeah.
It literally weighs him down.
It really is, yeah. And, thinking about the time period, in 19th century Italy, lying was a really serious offense. It was associated with, like, social ostracization. So Collodi isn't just telling a fantastical story, he's also reflecting these societal anxieties around dishonesty.
Wow, that's a good point. It really adds like another layer of meaning to something we might otherwise think is just this silly detail.
Exactly. And it makes you think, for you listening, what are your long noses? What are the truths that you're hiding that might be holding you back?
Okay, that's deep.
It is.
Back to Pinocchio. So the fairy, seeing that he is genuinely remorseful, summons woodpeckers to shorten his nose.
Only a fairy could do that.
I know, right? So you'd think he would have learned his lesson after all this, right?
Yeah, you think so.
But, well, that's Pinocchio. He immediately sets out to find the fox and the cat because he wants his coins back.
Ugh, come on, Pinocchio.
I know, he's still hung up on that get-rich-quick scheme, even after everything.
And wouldn't you know it, he finds them. And they convince him to plant the coins in the Field of Miracles again.
I can't even believe this. The same trick. Twice. It really shows how deep that desire for easy wealth is. Like, it just overrides any logic.
It really does. And as if to emphasize his foolishness, this time there's this mocking parrot
Oh, no.
that laughs at him and tells him, a story about it. He was conned in a similar way, advises him to, like, earn money through hard work instead.
That's gotta hurt.
Yeah.
So, has he learned his lesson?
What do you think?
Of course not. Pinocchio frantically digs up the coins. They're gone. And to make matters worse, he gets arrested for being a thief.
Oh no, he can't catch a break.
It's like the universe is saying, enough, Pinocchio, Time to face the music.
Yeah. So his imprisonment, this feels like a turning point in the story.
Yes.
He's not in that world of fairy godmothers and, like, magical rescues anymore.
Right.
He's in the real world. He's facing the consequences of his actions.
Yeah, it's a bleak moment, but then there's a stroke of luck. The emperor issues a pardon for all the prisoners because they're celebrating a victory.
Okay.
But here's the thing. Pinocchio insists that he's a bad guy, just so he can be released.
He does not want to miss out.
He doesn't.
Oh, Pinocchio.
I know. He's so desperate for freedom that he's willing to, like, cling to this label of badness,
It really shows you how immature he still is, how much he doesn't understand about real responsibility.
I know.
But, it's another example of how Collodi uses humor to point out these deeper truths.
Yeah.
Because Pinocchio's actions are absurd, but they reveal this fundamental misunderstanding about right and wrong.
That's true. So the jailer, amused by his insistence, he lets him go, and Pinocchio, free once again, encounters a giant serpent blocking the road.
Oh, no, not again.
It's tense, it's suspenseful. It's like even outside of prison, there are still dangers lurking everywhere.
Yeah, it's like a reminder that the world can be a scary place.
It is. So he escapes the serpent.
Okay.
But his troubles aren't over because in another moment of, like, impulsive foolishness, he gets caught in a fox trap while trying to steal grapes.
Pinocchio, you gotta be kidding me.
I know. It's like he's addicted to creating his own problems. And he cries out for help, And guess who lectures him about stealing?
Oh,
A firefly.
a firefly. Even the little guys are like, get it together, Pinocchio.
I know, even the smallest creatures are telling him to shape up.
Right. It's a reminder that, like, the lessons he needs to learn aren't confined to any one person or place. They're universal truths whispered by, like, the winds, the trees, the fireflies.
I love that.
But is he listening?
Well, a farmer finds him stuck in the trap and thinks that he's stealing chickens. Pinocchio tries to explain, no, I was just after the grapes. But the farmer doesn't believe him and forces Pinocchio to guard the chicken coop as punishment.
Okay, that makes sense.
So remember Melampo, the farmer's watchdog.
Yeah.
He's not around anymore. And this group of weasels sees this as an opportunity.
Uh-oh.
Right. They propose a deal with Pinocchio. They'll steal the chickens, and he'll get a hen in return, as long as he pretends to be asleep.
Classic weasels.
I know. They're like the embodiment of temptation,
It's
right? They're
horrible.
whispering all these sweet promises in his ear.
Right.
It's like the ultimate test of his character.
Right.
Will he choose easy reward over honesty?
Yeah.
And guess what he chooses?
Goes with the weasels.
He does. But when the farmer discovers the missing chickens, Pinocchio spins this elaborate lie about how he refused to help them steal the chickens.
Oh, Pinocchio.
Or he's even like, oh, I hate dishonest people.
He's doubling down.
I know, it's classic Pinocchio.
Classic.
He takes a bad situation and makes it worse.
Right.
But here's the irony. This time, his lies actually work.
What? He gets away with it.
He does. The farmer believes him and rewards him with freedom.
Wow, sometimes dishonesty pays off, I guess.
Well, it seems like it. But it's this bittersweet victory, right?
Yeah.
Because it reinforces the idea that dishonesty can be rewarded.
That is dangerous.
It is. But for now, Pinocchio is like blinded by success.
Right.
And so he sets off full of hope to return to the fairy's house.
Okay.
But what he finds there is going to shatter his world.
What?
He gets there and he discovers this marble stone where the house once stood. And the inscription on the stone says that the fairy's illness was brought on by grief caused by Pinocchio's bad behavior.
Oh, Pinocchio.
It's heartbreaking.
Right.
It is, and it makes you wonder, for you listening, what are the marble stones that you might have left behind? What relationships might have suffered because of your choices?
Ooh, yeah. That hits home.
It does.
It's a powerful reminder that our actions have consequences, not just for ourselves, but for, like, the people that we love.
Right, exactly. And for Pinocchio, this realization is just devastating. He's lost the fairy, his coins are gone, and he's no closer to becoming a real boy.
This is his lowest point.
It really is. But then, as always with Pinocchio, there's a glimmer of hope.
Yes, tell me.
Because this giant pigeon recognizes him and mentions that he saw Geppetto building a boat to go search for his lost son.
Oh, wow.
So it's a chance for redemption, to reunite with the father that he's, wronged so many times.
Yeah, it is.
It is. But this time, the journey won't be about, like, easy solutions or magical shortcuts.
Right.
It's going to require something much more difficult and much more rewarding.
Which is?
Genuine change. And that, my friend, is where we're going to pick up in the final part of our Pinocchio deep dive.
Yeah, so like we left off, Pinocchio standing there on the shore, grieving for the fairy and desperate to find Geppetto.
Yeah, it really does feel like he's hit rock bottom. What do you think? Is this it? Like, is this the turning point? When he realizes, like, whoa, my choices have had some serious consequences.
I think it is. I think you see a shift in him here. He's not running away from his problems anymore. He's actually trying to, like, repair the damage, right? Even if it means facing his fears, going out into this vast ocean.
And he really doesn't hesitate. The giant pigeon's like, hey, hop on my back. I'll take you to the seashore where Geppetto was last seen. And Pinocchio's like, let's go.
Yeah.
They fly over the ocean, stop at a dovecote for food. And Pinocchio, who hates leftovers, by the way, he devours them. No complaints. He even admits that hunger has no whims.
Yeah, I love that little detail. It shows a certain humility, right?
Yeah.
He's not this spoiled child demanding the best anymore. He's starting to understand, like, the realities of life.
Yeah.
Accepting what he's given.
Yeah. So they get to the beach, and there's a crowd gathered watching this tiny boat getting tossed around by the waves. An old woman explains that it's a father searching for his lost son. It's just, oh my gosh, it's heartbreaking, right? It's just this, like, vast ocean mirroring the immensity of Geppetto's love for Pinocchio.
And you get this feeling like it's almost inevitable, right? Like with the storm and the boat and the crowd, it's all building to this moment.
Yeah, and that moment comes. Huge wave crashes down, swallows the boat. Pinocchio cries out in despair and jumps into the ocean without even thinking.
Wow. Think about that image for a second. This puppet who was once afraid of, like, a spoonful of medicine is now diving into a stormy ocean. It's an act of, like, pure selfless love.
Right. He's not thinking about himself, not even thinking about becoming a real boy.
Yo.
It's all about saving Geppetto.
Yeah.
He's battling these waves all night and eventually washes ashore on this island called the Island of the Industrious Bees.
Okay, so new place, new set of challenges. This is a place where hard work is valued above all else.
It really is. Almost like fate has delivered him to the perfect spot, right? To learn the lessons he needs to learn.
It's true, because his whole journey has been about avoiding work, right? Looking for shortcuts, easy solutions.
Totally.
And now he's in this place where there are no shortcuts, no room for laziness.
He's exhausted, he's starving, tempted to beg for food. But then he remembers his father's lessons about the shame of begging.
Right.
So he sees this coal man struggling to pull 2 carts full of coal and offers to help.
Okay, that's good. That's a step in the right direction.
It is. He's choosing to work, to contribute. But old habits die hard because the coal man offers him 4 soldies for his help. And Pinocchio's like, what? I'm not a donkey. I don't pull carts for money.
Oh, come on, Pinocchio.
Right, it's like that time as a donkey, it really scarred him. So he has this aversion to any sort of labor. But the coal man, bless his heart, he just gently persists, reminds Pinocchio there's no shame in honest work.
That's a good reminder for all of us.
It is. So Pinocchio finally agrees, carries the water jug on his head.
Yeah.
Not glamorous work, but he does it.
He did it.
And after he's done, he comes to this familiar-looking house, knocks, and a snail answers the door.
The snail.
Yes,
Wait, is this the fairy's house?
it is.
But why is a snail answering the door?
I know, and the snail is so slow.
No.
Taking forever to answer Pinocchio's questions, like, is the fairy okay, and what's going on?
Right, it just creates this tension.
Yeah, like maybe it's too late.
Yeah.
The news isn't good. The snail says that the fairy is really sick.
Oh, no.
She's in the hospital,
Okay.
and she has no money.
What does Pinocchio do?
Well, his reaction is kind of surprising. Instead of despairing, he shows compassion. He immediately gives the snail all the soldi he earned to help the fairy.
Wow, he doesn't even hesitate.
Doesn't even think twice. This is the Pinocchio who sold his schoolbook for a few coins,
Yeah.
Tricked, deceived to get what he wanted.
Yeah.
And now he's giving away his hard-earned money.
It's a complete transformation.
It is.
It really speaks to the power of love and compassion.
Yeah.
He's not motivated by self-interest anymore. He's acting out of love for the fairy.
A love that has, finally eclipsed his own desires. I love that. So he throws himself into the work, making extra baskets, goes to bed early, and that night he has a dream. The fairy appears. She kisses him on the forehead and promises that if he continues to be good, he will become a real boy.
Oh, I love this dream. Because it connects his transformation to his actions,
Yeah.
not some magic event.
Right. It's no longer about finding that shortcut. It's about making the right choice every day.
Proving himself.
Proving himself, exactly. Pinocchio wakes up so happy, so determined. He's like, I'm going to be a real boy. I'm going to have this breakfast for all my friends to celebrate. He goes to find his best friend, Lucignolo, and this is where things get a little dicey again.
Yeah, I was going to say, here we go again.
I know, right? So Lucignolo, his nickname means wick, by the way.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Which is interesting, right? Like something fleeting, easily extinguished.
Almost like foreshadowing.
It is, like hinting at what he
Right.
represents.
Right.
Instant gratification, temptation, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So he finds Lucignolo hiding under a farmer's porch. Lucignolo tells him about the land of toys.
Oh, no. The land of toys. What is that?
Well, it's this place with no schools, no rules, just endless fun and games.
So it's basically everything Pinocchio's been trying to resist this whole time.
Exactly. Laziness, pleasure-seeking, avoiding responsibility.
Oh, boy.
And to make matters worse, a coach arrives, pulled by donkeys no less, ready to take them to this paradise.
Donkeys.
Donkeys! Come on, Collodi.
I know, right? It's such a blatant symbol, like foreshadowing the fate of those who choose this path.
Oh yeah, a path Pinocchio knows all too well. So Pinocchio, he hesitates. He remembers his promise to the fairy. But the land of toys is calling, so he rationalizes it, It's just a short delay. It won't hurt.
Yeah, we all have those moments. We know the right thing to do, but that wrong thing just seems so much more appealing.
Oh yeah. And Pinocchio, well, he gets in the coach.
Oh, Pinocchio.
And what happens next? He wakes up the next morning with donkey ears.
Donkey ears.
Again.
It's like a reminder, right? A symbol of that stubbornness and foolishness.
And he's basically undone all his hard work and sacrifice in one night.
Yeah, he has. He's horrified. He's looking everywhere for a mirror.
Of course.
When he finally sees his reflection, he's just devastated. He finds Lucignolo, and guess what? Lucignolo has donkey ears too.
So they both messed up.
They both messed up. They try to hide it. They put cotton caps on. It's too late. The coachman rounds them up, and they're sold at a market. This is interesting, right? Because it emphasizes how, like, bad choices are contagious. It's not just about us. It's about how our actions influence the people around us.
Yeah. Pinocchio's life as a donkey, it's awful.
Yeah, what happened?
He's forced to do tricks, he's mistreated, he becomes lame, and it's at this point that he's really longing for school.
Oh.
I know. He wants to be learning. He just wants bread and salami.
That's so poignant, though.
Yeah.
It shows you what really matters to him now.
Yeah, it's not about wealth or adventure.
Right.
It's about those basic needs.
Love, connection.
Yeah, purpose.
Yeah.
He's sold again.
Again.
Again, but this time to be made into a drum.
Oh, no.
They throw him in the ocean with a stone around his neck. It feels like this is it, you know?
Yeah.
This is the end. A tragic ending for a puppet who just never learned his lesson.
But at Pinocchio, there's got to be some twist, right?
Of course, there's always a twist. And this time it comes in the form of, wait for it, fish.
Fish.
Fish. They eat away at his donkey skin and what's underneath, his wooden body.
Wow.
He swims to shore,
Oh.
reunited with Geppetto, who, by the way, is overjoyed to see him back,
I bet.
no matter what form he takes.
It's just pure unconditional love, right?
It really is.
Like true acceptance. It goes beyond appearances, it goes beyond achievements.
It's just loving someone for who they are.
Exactly.
And it's this love that gives Pinocchio the strength to keep going. He tells Geppetto all about his adventures.
Yeah.
They talk about their experience inside the giant shark, by the way, because they were swallowed whole.
Hold on.
I know.
The shark is like the belly of the whale in Jonah.
Yeah, it's true.
It's a symbol of death and rebirth.
It is.
They've come through the other side. Changed.
They have. So they come up with this crazy plan to escape the shark.
Okay.
They use the light from a swallowed ship.
Wow.
I know. To navigate the shark's insides.
Okay.
They walk across the shark's tongue and they almost make it out.
Oh.
But the shark sneezes, sends them tumbling back in.
Collodi, always with the humor.
Yeah, no. Even in these like intense situations.
It's a reminder that even when things are bad, even when it seems like all is lost, we can still find those moments of like absurdity. You know?
Yeah, totally. Find the humor. Keep going.
Exactly. So they try again. This time, Geppetto rides on Pinocchio's back.
Okay.
And they make it out, exhausted but free. They're swimming towards shore, and who do they encounter?
Who? Don't tell me. The fox and the cat.
The fox and the cat.
I can't believe it.
I know, right? But this time they're impoverished, they're missing an eye and a tail.
Wow.
It's like karma's finally caught up with them.
It has, yeah. They're just a shadow of their former selves. A real cautionary tale about, chasing wealth and pleasure at the expense of everything else.
It's true. So Pinocchio sees right through them this time. You know he's learned. He uses proverbs, he makes jokes. He's not falling for their pricks anymore.
That's good. He's using his words as a weapon now, wielding wisdom and humor to deflect the manipulation.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
Okay.
So they find shelter in this little straw hut, and who do they encounter?
No. Not the talking cricket again.
The talking cricket.
Of course.
I know. He's been this constant presence, right? This voice of conscience.
Yeah.
Guiding Pinocchio. And this time, he brings news that really hits Pinocchio hard.
What is it?
The fairy's still really sick.
Oh, no.
She's in the hospital and her condition is worsening.
That's awful.
It is. It devastates Pinocchio. It's like all the weight of his actions, all the pain he's caused, just comes crashing down on him. But this time, his guilt fuels his determination. He finds work with a farmer so he can get milk for Geppetto
Oh.
and money for the fairy. He even sells his new clothes.
What?
Yeah,
Yeah.
to give the money to the snail for the
Yeah,
fairy's care.
That is a true act of sacrifice.
It is.
He's really come a long way.
He has. He's putting everyone else's needs before his own.
Yeah.
It's that selfless love that's like way more powerful than any magic.
Cool.
So he comes home, exhausted, but at peace. Lies to Geppetto about his clothes, doesn't want to worry him.
Right.
And that night, he has another dream.
Another dream. Okay.
The fairy appears, more beautiful than ever. and she smiles.
Oh,
She tells him that he's finally proven himself worthy,
yes.
and that when he wakes up, he will be a real boy.
Oh, I love that. It's such a beautiful ending, full of hope and promise.
It is.
And it's an ending that he's earned, you
Yeah.
know, through all his struggles, his failures, and ultimately, like, his triumph over himself.
Wow. What a journey. It's amazing, right? We think about the story Pinocchio, like it's just a children's tale, but there's so much depth, so much meaning.
It's really a story for all ages.
It is. It's a story about making mistakes, facing those consequences, and finding redemption through
Yeah.
love, sacrifice, hard work. You know, it's really for everyone. And for you listening, we hope this deep dive has given you a new perspective on Pinocchio. He's not just this mischievous little puppet. He's like this reflection of our own flawed and beautiful humanity.
Great.
So we want you to think about, like, what are those details in the story that stuck with you? What do they reveal about your own journey? Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep striving to be the best version of yourself, just like Pinocchio.